So the DITA Open Toolkit documentation is developed surprisingly in DITA. And there are a number of services that are used in connection to the documentation. GitHub is used as a storage and versioning system. It provides also some access control rights, so you can kind of say, you know, who is able to actually change the documentation. GitHub Pages is used as a web publishing service. I hope, Roger, I hope that I got this all correct. Feel free to stop me or correct me if I'm wrong. Travis is used to automate the build of the documentation, so the publishing on the website. And Slack is used for communication, like if you commit something on the documentation, you will see a message on Slack that documentation was changed and so on. So these services are connected like this. So GitHub stores the two repositories under the DITA-OT organization. One is the docs repository, which contains the source, and then is the DITA-OT.github.io, which is the web content that's published on through GitHub Pages and is made available at DITA-OT.org. So basically, the Travis will read the docs and then will will commit to the DITA-OT GitHub.io repository, and the Slack will listen whenever there's a commit, for instance, or some change in the project, a new issue, and so on, and will inform users that are on that channel. So we have this interconnected set of services. And now, in order to contribute to the documentation, you have something like this. That's the usual workflow. So you basically do not have rights on that repository, so you fork that. In your GitHub account, you clone that, then you have a local copy, you create a branch, you check out that branch on in a folder, basically, and you change the files that you want to change in the desktop editor, and then you commit, you push that branch, and just send a pull request. And yeah, I think you all agree that's kind of complex, and for most of the people, you know, if you want to really contribute something to the documentation, just thinking that I need to understand and work with all this process can be, you know, maybe next month when I have more time. So the first thing that we wanted, or we can do with this, is to hide some of this complexity, like automating some parts of that, you know, many steps workflow, and that like fork, clone, branch, and so, and just replace that with changing a file and save to commit that change to the repository. So, and this is a lot easier, right? So if I have a file open already, I can change it, save, and that will be, let's say, will go into the GitHub repository. So that workflow that we've seen can be replaced with something like you have the remote repository, you edit that content, and when you save, it will automatically fork, commit, push, and send a pull request. A pull request is, you know, a request that you send to the owner of that repository to accept your change. So we can do this with the Oxygen XML Web Author, which is a web-based editor and has a GitHub connector. And that's another service that we add to this set of services that the DITA-OT documentation already uses. And the Web Author implements that simplified workflow for working with GitHub. So you can access a file from a remote repository, and when you save, it will automate all those processes to, you know, just save to have the pull request available. And then, so that was fine, but how do we get, you know, the files? How do I open a file? Do I browse into the DITA-OT documentation to find the right topic? Right, so the idea was then let's integrate this so it's really easy for people to, as we have the rest of the services integrated, Travis, Slack, GitHub, GitHub Pages, and so on, let's have also this integrated. So what we did, basically, we created a link from the published version of the documentation to the web author, which then goes into the repository. Which means that, let's say if you have, this is the published website, and there is an edit this page link, that if you press that, you get access to the editor. Right, so you have on all the development pages, you have this edit button, which basically click, you are in front of the editor, make your changes, save, and then you are asked, you do not have rights, you are asked to send a pull request, you accept that, and that's it. So I think that, contributing to the DITA-OT documentation really cannot be easier. You just click, edit, save, describe what you changed, and that's your pull request. So we turned the DITA Open Toolkit website that presents the documentation basically into a wiki-like system, but even a little more than that, because we also have the changes do not go directly into that repository, but Roger or maybe Chris need to accept them in order to be part of the repository. So the owner of that repository needs to accept those changes. So that's it basically. And I have an example, so you can maybe look at this live. So this is the DITA-OT.org website. And under docs, you have the development version, which is the latest from GitHub. And this is where we have the edit links integrated. We do not want necessarily to edit an old version of the documentation, right? So we just want to have this access to the last version. At the bottom of the page, you can see edit this page kind of links. And if we browse completely random to a topic that Roger sent me earlier, like HTML help processing, and let's say I'm reading this and I see that the HTML help transformation creates HTML help files, for instance, like a small spelling error, right? In order to correct that, I can just say edit this page. This is the moment when at LavaCon the network didn't work. Or no, where was that? Yeah, it was a point, no, at TCOM, right? Because LavaCon didn't work. So at the DITA interoperability session at TCOM, the network didn't work exactly at this moment. Well, so we have the created. So let's say we say creates, right? And we save this. Oh, auto batteries. If I do any additional changes, they will be part of the same pull request. Okay, so that's it basically. And now Roger may, in his session, may accept, I don't know, this pull request. So thank you.